Hey, Curtis, what do you
Hey,
got for us
Oz.
this week?
This week, we got The Good Son meets Charles
Uh-huh.
Darwin's book on the origin of species meets Eric Cartman, ma'am. This week's movie, she's the bad seed. Duh. Do 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 do.
We don't even need intro music.
No.
Yeah, this is definitely an Eric. She's definitely Eric Cartman.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, definitely Eric Cartman. Only,
Ma'am, mama, me mama.
who's the prettiest mom? I've got the sweetest mom. So, what do you give me for a basket of kisses? And I'm like,
Mama, me mama.
yeah, very, very much so. And it's like, and mom certainly plays it up like Cartman's mom. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll
Yep.
hide this. Minus all the extra, extra bed friends.
Yeah. yeah, minus that part.
Minus that part. So, welcome to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, a weekly podcast where we take a monthly theme and go back and forth bringing movies that satisfy the theme. I am one of your hosts, Oz.
And I'm Curtis.
And we are here with episode 24, The Bad Seed, Curtis's movie to bring to the show this week. Before we roll into characters, I want to throw out a shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Melissa L. and Don S. Thank you for supporting the show. If you'd like to support the show, you can always catch us on patreon.com. Probably, I don't know, search for Let's Talk About Flicks. You can also find a link down in the description of the podcast or the YouTube video. However you're consuming this masterpiece of art.
Masterpiece.
Masterpiece
Theater.
I've got a down payment on a harpsichord. I'm going to redo our intro music with a harpsichord to fit our
On harpsichord.
Masterpiece Theater.
Theater.
The Bad Seed. What is it, 1956?
56.
Yeah, 56.
We're
black
dialing
and
it back
white.
for this one. Oh, yeah.
Yes, we are. We went back in time. Again, this month's theme is creepy children in movies. And this is probably, even for 1956, probably one of the first creepy kids, bad kids in
Yeah.
a movie. With all the different, I won't call it academy, but all the different taboo subjects back
yeah.
in early film days. You just didn't have malicious children. And so this is...
They're all sweet angels.
Right, and in a studio film, like this is directed by Mervyn LeRoy, who was a producer of Wizard of Oz. Like he did, this was not that there was independent film necessarily back in this era, but
Gritty
this
pulp
was,
fiction.
right, yeah, put out by the '50s version of Troma Films. But no, this is. This had studio backing. This, it was a production and a good one at that. A good movie. So let's get into our characters. I'll let you elaborate a little bit more on the foundation of the film, but to get into our characters, there's a chunk of characters, not a lot of extra. We start with the Penmark family,
As opposed to Chunk from Goonies.
right? Yeah, he's in this movie. He's got a minor part.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, and so we got the Penmark family led by Colonel Kenneth Penmark, the father, and Christine Penmark, the mother, and their wonderful, perfect little daughter, Rhoda
Mama, me,
Penmark.
mama. I have the prettiest mother.
She's 8 years old, and you know what? Always keeps her room. It's just the measure of perfection.
Yeah,
Everybody...
What a curtsy she has. She's got the best curtsy.
Oh, the best curtsy in Mrs. Fern's class, or Fern's School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, or
School of Hard Knocks.
right, Fern's School of Hard Knocks. And so yeah, and she's the very beginning of the movie, she's a perfect little kid. We also have the landlady lives upstairs, Monica, or as Rhoda calls her, Aunt Monica, who she plays.
She's the worst, is what she is.
She plays the Anthony Hopkins role of this movie of of like, oh, you take Anthony Hopkins from any movie we've done with Anthony Hopkins, and you mix it with the amplifier and Spinal Tap, and you've got Monica's performance, Elvin Varden.
Yep.
She wasn't leaving anything to the imagination. She was bringing it all to the table. We also have the groundskeeper / custodian of Monica's apartment complex, Leroy or Leroy or however
Leroy.
Leroy,
like LaCroix
or lacrosse. He's his own best friend. He's like Barf. He really loves talking to himself.
He does. That's self monologue.
Yeah. Bit parts here. We've got Miss Fern. She's the school's headmistress at Fern's School of Head Mystery. And then we've got mention of Claude Daigle.
Yes.
We don't actually have him in the cast, but we do see his parents, Hortense and Henry Daigle.
That's a great name, Hortense.
Hortense, who on a couple of occasions crawls out of the bottle to be in our show.
Yeah. Also,
she also comes from the Evelyn Varden School of Acting, where I'm leaving nothing to be desired. And then, really, in my views, a couple of extras. We've got Tasker, who's kind of a crime author, specializing in like murder or whatever, and then Richard Bravo, who is Christine's father, and all Richard Bravo.
I love that name.
I do too. It sounds like someone's like CB call sign.
There's Richard Bravo. I got some smokies up ahead.
And he is Christine's father / apparently like the godfather of crime fiction. I don't know.
Yeah. Or is he Christine's father?
Dun. Right. So that's where we're at in this. Is like I said, there's it's a healthy cast, but they all play a role. So it's I don't think I mentioned anybody that's kind of nobody's an extra. Everybody's got a part. So
yep, that's it.
That is that's the front page of the playbill.
Yes.
So, and I'll let you take over the plot.
Well, and speaking of the playbill, this movie was first written as a play. And you could tell right away because there's only a couple locations. I think with the exception of the sidewalk scene, everything was probably shot in a studio. But yeah, it's definitely a play that they just happen to kind of film one day. So, so we open up on a little foreshadowing. We get a quick opening shot of a dock on a pond.
Yeah.
And then the camera pans over to the town, and we see a military officer pull up to a house in a car. And a gentleman inside, Colonel Penmark, says he'll be right out. He's in his military garb. He's got to go serve again, Oz.
Yeah, I know. But luckily, before he goes, he's got a basket of kisses to give someone.
To give to Rhoda. We get introduced to Rhoda. She's playing the piano.
Yeah,
what a sweetheart she is, Oz.
Just a perfect angel.
Nothing could go wrong. No. There's nothing wrong with this child, whatever.
No, she's not a bad seed at all.
No, how dare
she's a good seed?
How dare you even bring that up? We get introduced to the landlady Monica, who I just Melissa just kept telling Melissa L, by the way, Patreon subscriber Melissa L.
That's one of the other perks of being a Patreon subscriber is you get to come to our home and watch movies with us. Red carpet treatment.
We roll it out for you. So Melissa L is telling me like this lady's got a case of punch face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would rather Cosmo Kramer come bursting through my door
than Monica.
Than Monica the landlady.
Oh, she's the worst.
Oh, she is.
She walks in and she's got gifts for Rhoda and just compliments. And Rhoda is very kind of presumptuous and entitled. You kind of get the impression pretty early on that she thinks she deserves this praise from Monica and she deserves this attention and she deserves these gifts. So Kenneth's got to leave. He's got to go serve his country. So Christine, the mom, walks him out, and they kiss goodbye. And she walks back in. We get some evil music as Christine walks back in the house.
I don't think I even noticed it, but go ahead.
We get some evil music there. Back in the home, Monica's just given Rhoda a pair of fancy sunglasses and a beautiful heart pendant necklace.
Yeah.
Yep. Rhoda asks Monica for more because, of course, that's just not enough for Rhoda. Mom scolds her, but Monica continues to dote. Oh, Aunt Monica.
Oh, Aunt Monica.
Yep. Wish I had an Aunt Monica to come dote on me.
Right. Well, in all fairness, like, Rhoda is an 8-year-old only child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how 8-year-old only children, especially ones that you constantly, even Christine's, at the fault here of, like, she's constantly, never have to remind Rhoda of anything, like, I've had, the relationships with Rhoda in this movie, early on especially, remind me of course I'm leaving names out, but I would have parent-teacher conferences, and there were a couple different sets of parents that they knew their kid was a good kid, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then they would go overboard. Like, every year they would show up at parent-teacher conferences and they'd come in like, all right, lay it on us. How awful is our kid? Yeah. And it's like, and of course she did, like, I sit there and I'm like, oh, come on, you're my 18th parent-teacher conference of the day. Like, your kid is fine. You don't have to be here. Like,
yeah.
And granted, good for you for, raising a good kid. But there's one thing, I don't know. One thing, I guess, from my parenting mind of, like, if you're constantly telling your kid how perfect and great they are, honor, pay attention to how hard they're working or something like that, because that stuff is motivating. But it's like, never have to tell her to clean her room because she's perfect.
Yeah, the value of hard work in the process versus the end result there.
Yes.
Yep. So we get introduced to Leroy, the handyman. By the way, he stops by and lets himself in. It's like he works for the Red Cross.
Exactly. Right. It's a precursor to last week's movie. So
yeah. He just lets himself in.
You're a custodian in the U.S., but you're a Red Cross employee in Austria.
It's no pun intended. It's cross training. It's just a similar training model they use for both the Red Cross and for local handyman.
Right. If he survives to that point, it is 56. The life expectancy is low.
We get introduced to a little bit of tension between Rhoda and Leroy.
Oh, yeah. He's beneath her. She knows he's beneath her. And he loves to antagonize her because I think he sees right through it. And, and she realizing that, hey, you could say whatever you want and I'm going to say whatever I want because nobody is going to believe what you say about me because I'm perfect little Rhoda. Yeah. And, she's nasty to him.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he's nasty to her, too. So, like,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes both ways. And you get the impression personality-wise, they have a lot in common.
Yes.
They are very similar.
Yeah. They just had different spoons in their mouth when they were born.
Well put. So, Rhoda presents as this kind of girly girl, dresses, pigtails. As they literally cross paths, she bumps into Leroy, and Rhoda gives him a very dirty look.
Mm-hmm. She's just a nasty little 8-year-old girl that's got, the people whose opinion she cares about, she's got them buffaloed. Yeah. Because they're getting ready to go to a picnic, and even Monica's like, you're going to a picnic, shouldn't you have on jeans and whatnot? And she's like, oh no, I don't. I'm a little princess girl. I don't wear jeans. I wear dresses and I curtsey.
Yeah. Rhoda reminds me a lot about, this is going to be a weird analogy. She reminds me a lot of like gang members in a way, in that the smart and savvy ones know how to talk with adults. They know how to talk the talk. They know how to walk the walk. They know who to butter up. They know who to build these kind of phony relationships with. Whereas the kids who kind of pretend or don't have those affiliations are the ones who just wear it all on their sleeves.
Yeah. Yeah, they can chameleon themselves between the social networks that they need to be in.
Yeah.
And she's even at 8 years old, she's good at it.
Oh yeah, she's very good at it. She's got it down to a science.
It also helps that everybody whose opinion she cares about is just a bumbling idiot. So
Yeah. Speaking of bumbling idiots, Monica, she says that she knows Rhoda's disappointed that Claude Daigle won the penmanship medal in school from Miss Fern. And that's why Monica brought Rhoda the gifts.
It must have been big news in town because
Yeah,
why would the landlady care? Let alone know about, like, oh, I hear the penmanship medal's been handed out at Fern's School of Exceptional Students.
It's like Charles Xavier School of Gifted Youngsters.
Right, that's Gifted Youngsters.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I knew it wasn't Exceptional Students, but I was drawing a blank. Yeah, but Rhoda's, she's certainly a mutant, but not Charles Xavier worthy.
Yeah, she's her mutant power is she was born without empathy.
Right, yeah. She's more of a toad.
It's true, she is. She's very, very toad-like.
Right. And by the way, Rhoda was played by Ray Park.
Yes.
In this movie. So.
Great special effects too, by the way.
Not Ray Parker Jr.
No, not Ray Parker. No, not Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Darth Maul himself.
The same Ray Park who was also Darth Maul, and the Headless Horseman from Sleepy Hollow.
And the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow. Not the Christopher Walken headed Headless Horseman, but the parkour off my horse Headless Horseman.
when I think Rhoda, I think parkour.
And Headless Horseman.
Mm-hmm.
Although thinking of Rhoda and thinking of Darth Maul aren't too far apart though.
Yeah, you're not too far apart. You just just need to throw a double-bladed lightsaber in there and some Duel of the Fates music, and there you go.
Or a match.
Yeah. So Rhoda is very upset at the talk of her not winning the penmanship award. You know, she talks very sternly. She looks very angry. She's stomping
very hard
her
to
feet.
Contain it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's screaming about it. She goes outside and Leroy's out there, and I think he's like watering the flowers or something.
This is great.
And he accidentally sprays her feet. I think the first time, I'm not sure, it might have been an accident, but then he does it again. No, you don't think so?
He totally turns that thing 90 degrees and sprays her feet coming down the stairs, but just quick enough and pulls it back to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then he does it again.
Yeah. He called me Mr. Butterfinger.
Whoops. I love Emo Phillips.
Oh yeah. I think that's the second time I've used that reference point, and the second time you've called Emo Phillips on it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So Rhoda and Monica accuse him of doing it on purpose, and Christine's like, "No, it's just an accident." Monica threatens to fire Leroy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, if he didn't have a family at home to feed, then she's just like, that's how high regard Monica holds, Rhoda. I think it's also important to know that Monica is older. Monica is single, and I don't know if Monica's had any children.
I don't think they explicitly state it, but I think you can infer that she does not have children of her own.
Right. So she, a lot of vicarious living through Rhoda,
through little perfect Rhoda. We end the scene with Leroy narrating to himself that he might try to make a move on Christine, and
he might as well have just done this with his fingers,
or like twiddle his mustache.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Like again, we have established that he has a family at home, but he's all like, Colonel Penmark's out of town.
The wolf will come and play.
That's right. Christine is lonely.
And Leroy.
Not that lonely, Leroy.
We cut to the next scene, and Mom and Rhoda are walking to a park. I think not too far away from where they live, and Miss Fern is there. So apparently, it's the class picnic, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Class picnic.
And there's that same dock that we saw from the opening shot of the film, right by the water there. A little foreshadowing, another girl is scolded for getting too close to the water and to the boathouse.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right, you stay away from them. Which, good for those kids that are, like, actually policing and doing the job they're supposed to be doing. I just imagine doing some sort of field trip like that, like, now with this generation's group of kids, and it's like... Hey, stop. Don't. Stay away from the water. I'm going to put this on TikTok when that kid fell in.
Let's see. Miss Fern is there prepping the picnic, and Mom talks to Miss Fern for a little bit about Rhoda.
Trying to, yeah.
Is she always this perfect with you as she is with me? And you get the feeling Miss Fern is trying to duck the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, she keeps referring to, like, I got to get this picnic set up. Mm-hmm. And Mom just chases her around. But is my daughter really as great as she is? Like, I mean, you can sense Mom's almost like, there's no way she's dialed to this level all the time. Mm-hmm. Does she have friends?
Yeah, I mean, Mom even asks, do the other children like her?
Right.
And again, Fern just keeps ducking it.
Yeah.
And eventually I think Mom gets the point and leaves.
Right.
We cut to Christine, Monica, and Emery. Yeah, whoever. I'm not going to spend much time on this. This was probably kind of an unnecessary scene.
Yeah.
There's a little
same way.
There's a little character stuff here, and and some little plot seeds, but whatever.
Yeah.
So they're having lunch together. Monica's talking about knowing Sigmund Freud and about talk about some nurse who killed people. Christine just says, "I think I'm adopted," which is like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, she's definitely tested took a barometer of the room and been like, yeah, I think this is a good time to slide this in.
Yeah, I think
I
I'm
know
adopted.
Sigmund Freud. Well, for us all sharing facts about ourselves, I think I'm adopted. Oh yeah, it was awkward.
Yeah,
it was like, okay.
Yeah, and Christine has like an aversion to violence, also. Like she's a very kind of pacifist. I even pick up like on some avoidance with her as well. And then Monica's doing her like armchair therapist thing because she's an expert. Oh God, Monica. Ugh. That Monica.
Yeah. I have a feeling, is she going to show up again later?
I hope so. I can't get enough Monica. Ugh. So they turn the radio on, and the radio says a student at Miss Fern's school has drowned in the pond, and that there was bruising on the body and hands, and it turns out it was Claude Daigle.
Claude Daigle. We don't know that yet
because
and this part cracked me up. The name of the child has not yet been identified, as the parents have yet to be notified. Like, hold on a second. Hold on. Kid falls off a pier and drowns at the school picnic, and the first thing you do is call the radio station?
Yeah.
Well, we can't share the name of the child because we haven't yet contacted the parent. Like, what? Like, and Christina has a proper reaction. Every parent listening to the radio right now should be flipping out, be like, wait a second, my kid was at that picnic.
This is how I'm hearing about it?
Exactly. I had that as my original and I changed it. But it was like, wait a minute, why was the radio station notified of this before the parents were notified?
Well, I think that goes back to your TikTok statement. I mean, I gotta
right, exactly.
Daddy's got to line these pockets.
Right. The bad seed. It took a few generations, but it kicked off today's social media frenzy.
It all traces back to the bad seed.
News is news. So. I was a little dumbstruck by that. Like, hold on, you haven't. But yeah, like you said, we do soon realize that it is Claude Daigle.
Claude Daigle,
the recent recipient of Best Penmanship Award at Miss Fern's School of
Hard Knocks for gifted youngsters.
Right, witchcraft and gifted youngsters.
Yeah. So Rhoda gets back from school on the bus, and she's very matter of fact. I pulled a quote here. We didn't have our picnic. Claude Daigle was drowned.
Just cold.
Yeah. Like, no emotion.
Oh, hey, Mom.
No
How
sympathy.
was your day? Nah. Claude Daigle died. Whatever.
Claude Daigle drowned.
Can I have a peanut butter sandwich?
Yeah, that's the next thing. Can I have a peanut butter sandwich? And Christine's a little like, are you gonna be a little more sensitive about this? I mean, but Rhoda was excited for the sandwich. I mean, Mom must really make a good peanut butter sandwich.
It's a main one.
She probably uses Jif.
Skippy or Jif, one of the two.
Yeah,
for sure.
So Christine asks Rhoda like if she's been traumatized. And Rhoda's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't feel any way at all.
Right.
Like, no red flags there.
No, there are no red flags because this is a black and white movie. So
Well, literally, yeah. It's no gray flags there.
this isn't Schindler's List where we only see red once. This is twice, I guess. This is a black and white movie with no color. Of course there's no red flags.
So Christine asks Rhoda if she's been naughty, and Rhoda says, "Why, no, mother.
Are you not? I have the sweetest mother.
I have the sweetest mother. Mama me, mama.
I've got the prettiest mother." Like, Christine's like, okay. I mean, she falls for it every time.
Yeah.
What a dope.
Rhoda ends up outside because she put her roller skates on as she was telling Mom that her classmate drowned.
Right, I gotta go make the rounds.
Yep. Skates aren't going to skate themselves.
Right.
So, Leroy's out there, and he confronts her why she's not upset. And Rhoda, in a very kind of relaxed, or in a, she kind of like lowers her voice when she talks. Yeah. Because it's like her letting her guard down. She lowers her voice.
Right. Because she knows that no one's going to believe anything he says. Yeah.
Why should I feel sorry? It was Claude Daigle that drowned, not me.
Right.
And she skates away.
Right. Yeah. And he just goes, like, if you haven't, spoiler alert.
Sometimes I think that should be the alternate name of this podcast.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert featuring Oz and Curtis.
Right. Peeling back the onion with Oz and Curtis. But like Leroy goes, he just basically lists the plot out right there. Like, oh, I bet it was you that pushed that boy off the dock because he won the penmanship award. And she's like,
that penmanship award, everybody knows about it.
It's the talk of the town. And now it's like a vacated title. Claude Daigle dropped the title when he perished, so it's up for grabs. I did read in the trivia that in the stage play of this, it was not a penmanship award. It was like most improved penmanship. And because Rhoda has always had great, nearly perfect penmanship, there was really no way she could have won the award.
Sure, she's not eligible for it.
She's not eligible for it. And so in this, and I like that. I don't know why they changed it for the movie, but I do like that because then it hinges on, like, she's pining for a award that she wasn't even in contention for. And so I guess if anything, at least with this changing it to the penmanship award, it gives a little bit more mystery to whether or not she actually is guilty. But it's like, no, she in the original play, it was most improved. So she wasn't going to win anyway.
You know what I'm curious about, Oz? I want to see her penmanship skills.
I do too.
You never see it, and I want to see Claude Daigle's because, like, how good is this penmanship?
I would have been. I easily would have been on board with take out that scene of them all sitting around announcing they've met Freud and whatever, and replace that with the judging of the penmanship, and I would have been all over it. I love movies about handwriting.
In my mind, Claude Daigle is there with like a feather-tipped like ink pen, and
he's got a quill.
and Rhoda's got one of those oversized crayons that she has her entire hand around, and she's like scribbling, like her elbow is the hinge point. And like,
either that, or she's got one of those pens with like the 4 different colors in them.
Yeah.
And they're competing at the Miss Fern School for kids who can't read good.
She's holding the pen with both hands. Like,
right. Yeah, it's like like Pee Wee Herman's toothbrush and Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Like, it's just this giant novelty thing. And Claude Daigle's got a monocle, and he's got leather patches on his elbows. Like, he deserves it.
Yeah, he dresses the part, certainly.
He's a 47-year-old man, Claude Daigle.
Oh, let's see. Christine puts Rhoda to bed, whatever. The next day, Miss Fern comes over. And Rhoda's practicing on the piano, just like any good little girl does, Oz.
Perfect girl.
And Miss Fern, she's talking with Christine. And she said she just visited with Mrs. Daigle. And
I love Mrs. Daigle.
Mrs. Daigle is curious. Again, this is Miss Fern talking. But she's curious, what happened to the penmanship medal?
Right.
Of everything that happened, where is it? And Mrs. Daigle has some kind of inkling. Something is telling her that it's connected to the Penmark residence.
Right. Yeah.
So Rhoda comes in, curtsies to Miss Fern, and then goes outside to read. Very
Right.
polite with Miss Fern.
Yes. Oh, overly polite.
And I noticed that Miss Fern looks haunted when she sees Rhoda come in. Like she looks. I mean, as much as you can in a black and white movie, I get the impression that she goes pale at the sight of Rhoda.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I could see it. Yeah, because she's just a terrible kid. But just so manipulative and conniving, and that that it's one of those that she probably does so many nefarious things at school, but is so slick that they just can't pin it on her.
Yeah.
Unlike the penmanship award on Claude Daigle, who apparently wore it everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I'd wear it. That'd be on my. I would only wear shirts with lapels just so I could wear that.
I would have asked for a larger one, like, again, making a wrestling connection, sling it over my shoulder, just parade around with that thing. It's my penmanship award.
That I won at WrestleMania 4 when the title was vacated.
And it spins, a la Cena.
I beat Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for this.
Right. This isn't the Intercontinental Penmanship Award.
No, this is the World Penmanship Award.
Yeah, so I'm not part of the tag team penmanship
the TV title.
Right? This isn't the European title.
No, there's no cruiserweight penmanship title. The $1 million penmanship title.
Exactly. What do I look like, Virgil? No, this is the universal title.
Yes.
I'm the best penmanship in the universe. Claude Daigle.
Yep. Oh, Claude Daigle. So
his parents were so proud.
Well, so Rhoda leaves, and Miss Fern, again, she's talking with Christine in Christine's home, in the Penmark home, and she says, Rhoda was the last person to see the Daigle boy alive. And that morning, Rhoda was following Claude around trying to take his medal, and she was very upset. And a lifeguard even spotted Rhoda walking away from the wharf. And Miss Fern thinks that Rhoda knows something.
Like the Star Trek guy?
Huh. Yeah.
Star Trek. Worf was at this picnic?
Yeah. Worf was there. He was there. trying to whittle down his I don't know, his face bumps. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess whatever. That's probably what it was. Claude Daigle tripped over his forehead and fell. It wasn't Rhoda's fault.
Worf was
pinned
there.
It on the wrong kid.
Literally.
Wrong kid died.
Wrong kid died. There's our requisite weekly reference to Walk Hard.
It's all right though. We got some comeuppance.
Yeah. Well, at this time it was early Walk Hard and this were set at the same time. This was around the same time.
It's true.
As the 14-year-old performance.
It was probably 14-year-old Dewey Cox was the lifeguard that spotted her. He'd lost his smell, so he couldn't pin it whether it was her or not. But
maybe. I think Rhoda played that was actually Krista Wiig's character was based on Rhoda.
I think it was.
I'm Dewey's 8-year-old girlfriend. So Christine, she says she'll question Rhoda, and Miss Fern infers that Rhoda will lie, which doesn't sit well with Christine. I can imagine as a parent that wouldn't sit well.
No, yeah, I could definitely see that. Like, excuse me?
Yeah, exactly. You calling my kid a liar? And Miss Fern just says, basically. Miss Fern says Rhoda is not invited back to the school next year due to the matter of the medal. Right. And she even says that Rhoda doesn't have a sense of fair play and is a poor loser. So these are kind of the things that I think she was trying to avoid telling Christine earlier.
Yes.
But yeah, Miss Fern just comes right out and says it.
Now got to face the music, and she comes off very like the assistant principal or principal at the school that Uncle Buck's niece and nephew go to. Like, that's just, I'm just going to tell you, the truth about your kid, and you're not going to like it, but it's the truth. And of course, Christine's in no position. She's got a little, I won't call it suspicion, but like you said, Rhoda's given some red flags just on how she's handled this whole, this post-traumatic issue, and she's just so blatantly disregards it.
Yeah.
You know, but Christine's still not ready to listen and understand this about her own kid.
Yeah. So while Miss Fern is there, the doorbell rings, and who stumbles in, Oz?
Hortense Daigle.
Hortense.
And her husband, Henry.
Yeah. Yeah, he's there
the
also.
Daigles. Yeah.
That's kind of him. Like, he's there.
Yeah, which is okay because she is so there that I think if you take her 180% and his 20% and put them together, and you've got two competent performances.
Well, Mrs. Daigle even walks in, and the first thing she does is insult her husband. She
Right.
says that don't pay attention to him. He's all for good breeding. Like, oh,
Right. Yeah, and basically, I followed you here, Miss Fern.
yeah.
That's how I know.
And she is drunk.
Oh, she's beyond
my,
drunk.
She's
Like,
oh.
yeah,
She's-
I don't think she would have been this drunk if the actress was actually drunk.
Yes.
Like,
Mrs. Daigle is beyond drunk. She
Oh, yeah.
is. Oh, it's not good. She's
But still-
she's clearly in mourning.
but she's still very coherent.
Yeah. She can still put sentences together.
Oh yeah. She could stand up just fine.
Yeah. She goes after Christine. Says Christine's from higher class, higher society. She
Right.
thinks Christine's looking down on her. And she even says that, like, you've even got a high class name, Christine. My name is Hortense.
Right? Starts making fun of herself.
Yeah.
You know, and how all the other kids made fun of her when she was in school. Yeah.
So Miss Daigle kind of lays into Miss Fern too. So yeah, Hortense goes after Miss Fern, and Miss Fern is pretty intimidated by Mrs. Daigle. She clearly like her demeanor changes, her posture, her body language completely changes when Mrs. Daigle walks in.
Yeah, a lot of liquid courage on Miss Daigle's part.
And Miss Daigle thinks Miss Fern knows something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that whole thing. And Miss Daigle turns to Christine. You need to talk to Rhoda about what happened. You know, I put that medal on himself. It wouldn't have come off. Something had to take
Right.
that medal off. I always come back to the medal, Oz. That penmanship
I know.
medal.
Yeah, it's
You think
Yeah.
it's got to be like the Stanley Cup, where, like, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
the recipient has their name engraved on it.
Yeah, I'm sure. And all the previous recipients, it's a
Yeah.
very large medal,
It's 17 pounds.
right? And that's probably what made him sink to the bottom of the lake.
That's 17-pound medal.
Rhoda ripping it off was actually trying to save him.
So Mrs. Daigle, she starts screaming that Claude was better, and will leave. So Miss Fern goes too. Christine says, you know, Mrs. Daigle will have to live with this until she dies. And Miss Fern's like, yeah, until she dies. You could tell Miss Fern is super shaken by this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
and she's. I mean, you know, you picture she's the decision. She's got her own school. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Miss Fern's school. You know, so she's the decision maker. Probably lives in her own. I won't say always live in her own little bubble, but I mean, even the way she talked to Christine about, hey, I'm going to tell you about your kid. Like, this is my role in your child's upbringing. Is I see them through a different lens that you do. I'm going to tell you the truth about this. And very rare, you get the sense very rarely does she actually see what it's like on the other side. Probably doesn't do a lot of home visits. And then when she sees both ends of this, you know, rivalry, you know, and show up, I mean, she could basically walk all over Christine, realizing that, you know, like you said earlier, she's so passive about confrontation, and then Daigle shows up, you know, and it's like she's no match. So yeah, she's, like you said, very visibly shaken and distraught about what just happened.
Well, and you got to imagine Miss Fern is shaken about what happened as well.
Oh, of course,
and,
yeah, it happened on her watch.
Yeah, exactly, on her watch. So, you know, there's a lot of like mourning going on. Everyone is still in a state of shock as well. So,
You know, she did her part. She called the radio station.
yeah, I mean, she clearly made the right initial call, literally.
Right. I'll let the police tell the parents.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I call K95. Talk to the morning zoo crew. Hey, Claude Diggle drown.
You're on with Biff and the Monster. Hi, it's Miss Fern from Miss Fern's school. What you got for us, Fernie? We got a kid that fell in the lake. Oh, wet boy in the lake. Splash.
And a toilet flush sound.
It's 6 past the hour. Go to our website and pick which month was your favorite Playmate of the month. And also, what do you think of the Daigle Boy drowning in the lake?
7th caller gets tickets to see Limp Bizkit.
13th caller gets their own penmanship award.
Too soon. Wah, wah, wah. Smooth transition back. Monica arrives because who's better to calm down a grieving shock situation than a good old Monica?
Aunt Monica.
So she's there. Says something about replacing the stone in the necklace. Christine goes to get the necklace from Rhoda's jewelry box, and what does she find along with the necklace, Oz?
I believe it was the penmanship award tucked underneath the fabric or something. I don't know. I'm not familiar with high class, bedroom furniture, but
I know jewelry box.
Yeah, but yeah, she tucked it underneath. So yeah, she's found the penmanship award that Rhoda stole from Claude Daigle right before he mysteriously fell off the pier, off the wharf, and drowned. And so it's at her home.
Yeah, Rhoda comes back inside, just skipping around outside.
Yeah.
And
pestering Leroy.
Christine confronts Rhoda, and she kind of slams the metal down on the table. So Christine is finally kind of starting to see some things here. It's her blindness to everything is slowly going away.
She was blinded by the light. She was revved up like a deuce. Another roller in the night. But she's starting to see the other side now, so.
Yikes. So Rhoda's upset at first. Like, where did you get that medal? But then she quickly collects herself.
Right.
Mamma mia.
Who's got the sweetest mother? What would you give me for a basket of kisses? And I'm like, oh, I'd push you off the wharf.
Yeah. So Rhoda denies how it got there. She doesn't know. She tries making up a story.
It was the ghost of Claude Daigle.
Yeah. She keeps trying to butter up Mom, and Mom's like, no. Yeah. No. Rhoda says she didn't tell Miss Fern the truth because Miss Fern doesn't like her.
Right. So turn the tables a little bit. Oh, how the tables have turned.
And she even says Claude doesn't need the medal anymore. He's dead.
Oh, just cold.
Oh, cold-blooded.
Right. Like,
I've got the prettiest mother, the nicest mother. That's what I tell everyone.
Right. Including Claude as he was falling. My mom won't fall for this. She's pretty.
Oh. Rhoda was talking about Mrs. Daigle. Speaking of cold, oh my, this line isn't too relevant to the plot, but like I took it down just because it was so cold. Daigle before had mentioned like I'm too old to have another child.
Yeah,
and so Rhoda to her mom talking about Mrs. Daigle says if she wants another boy so bad, why doesn't she take one out of the orphan's home?
Right. Ooh. Yeah.
I even typed into my notes. Damn, that's cold. Like
I've got a solution. I have a solution to her problem.
If you want another boy, just go to the orphan's home. There you go. Right. Problem solved. Right.
I don't know why you're dragging this out. I mean, there's all kinds of kids that need homes. Yeah, like. For a studio film in 1956 to come out of like a child's mouth. Like I read in the trivia that, and today you see teenagers played by people in their mid to late 20s. It just happens. But like Patty McCormack, who played Rhoda in the movie, was 10. And they were like, "Ooh, how can we make this 10-year-old look like she's 8?" Like,
yeah.
That was one of the worries is that nobody's going to believe that this 10-year-old girl is playing an 8-year-old girl. And I'm like, so they purposely, like, they made her dresses a little bigger, you know, just to make her look a little more unkempt. And I'm like, she's 10.
Yeah.
You know, like, trust me, no one was going to doubt that she was 8 when she's 10.
Yeah.
You know, she's less than 1,000 days older than than what she's supposed to be. And you're worried. So, but yeah, I mean, it was like, there's some bold choices coming out of the mouth of babes in this movie.
I won't go into detail on this, but Christine, she's kind of telling a story about like some old landlady they used to live with in Wichita, and she had a mysterious death because she had an item that she was going to give to.
It's like a snow globe or something.
Yeah, basically.
She promised Rhoda, you can have it when I pass away.
Oops, and now she's dead.
Yeah.
Rhoda has
man, that didn't take long. Rhoda has it.
Mm-hmm. So Rhoda finally admits she lied to Miss Fern, but she's not lying to Mom.
Right.
And then Christine hugs Rhoda. It can't be true. It can't be true.
Yeah, it's you're seeing a lot of dramatic performance here in terms of Christine, but a realistic situation of I now know my child is evil. What do I do?
Yeah. Something's clearly up here. Outside, Rhoda's playing with her new tea set. And who comes up to her but Leroy? You know,
because Daddy had it sent to her, to his perfect little daughter.
Yep. Leroy claims that Rhoda hit Claude with a stick, and that's how he fell in the water.
Yeah.
And you know, Leroy's like, they're gonna find your bloody stick in the woods, and he tells her that you can't wash off blood. And Rhoda kind of freaks out.
Yeah, he's like, that's what they got bloodhound for. They got blood dogs, so you know that's what they do.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was definitely playing into her 8-year-old mentality of like, oh my gosh, this sounds awful. I'm stuck.
And she even goes back inside and asks her mom if blood washes off, and Christine is kind of distressed at that,
right?
As she should be.
Yeah. Well, it's like she knows, like. Christine now knows, and Rhoda knows that she knows. And Rhoda's still like, I'm not trying to, I might as well be myself.
Yeah.
Like, no point in hiding it anymore.
Yeah. So the doorbell rings, and Reginald Tasker is over for dinner.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one.
Thank you. I'm like, extra character.
Exactly. So basically, Rhoda goes up to Monica's for dinner, I think. And so this guy with no point, he's another writer. Everybody in this movie, they're all writers. He walks in, and they're talking about
including Rhoda, who's second place for her penmanship.
Yeah. With her two-handed writing technique.
She should have been a better writer. We would have avoided this whole situation.
So Christine's father, Richard Bravo, best name ever, shows up as well. And he's also like a crime writer or whatever.
Yeah.
And the one thing about the scene that does kind of stick, that did stick with me, was the kind of the psychology behind it. And is behavior determined by environment or heredity? You know, is it nature or nurture? You know, using those words.
Right.
And Tasker says that, you know, he's convinced it's hereditary. You know, these kids are very charming, but they're bad seeds.
Yeah. I wish he would have looked right at the camera when he dropped the titular
but they're
line.
Bad seeds.
Yeah.
They talk about some woman who was very charming to kill her, but she was never caught. Richard looks kind of uncomfortable at that. Tasker leaves. Christine asks Richard if she's adopted. She won't let that go.
No. Despite only mentioning it once before.
Yep.
But yeah. It's like, hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Are you my dad?
And basically the truth comes out. Yeah, she was adopted, so her instincts were right. She was adopted.
Yeah. You were. I found you.
Yeah.
It didn't even necessarily go through the proper channels of adoption. I just
found you.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to come live with us? Okay.
Yeah. So where did he find her?
He found her at some like crime scene, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it turns out, again, a really long story short, that Christine had some repressed memories that were coming out in dreams of her being terrified of her mother, and she was like 2 at the time.
Right.
and it's kind of I'd say maybe implied that this killer that Tasker was talking about was her mother.
Right, yeah. So it's all this is just kind of conveniently surfacing right there that here comes Tasker, who has all this background knowledge on this murderous woman, and then here comes Rio, who had took in her, I called him Rio. In Texas, they call him Rio Bravo.
Well, in my head, I keep thinking Johnny Bravo.
I remember that too. That would have been so much better.
That was his biological child, was Johnny Bravo.
Right. Oh, man.
Nice.
Oh, I love Rio Bravo. Oh, Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo.
I love all the Bravos.
All the Bravo.
I love Bravo, the channel Bravo.
Dino Bravo.
I love Dino Bravo. John Tenta. I love them all.
John Tenta. Oh, man. So basically, that whole 15-minute scene was, is it environment or is it hereditary?
Right.
Yes, you're adopted, and your mom was probably a killer.
Right. And I happened to be investigating it all when I was on the scene, and that's when I found you, and I just smuggled you in my coat and took you home, I guess. Raised you as my own. Oh, Daddy. Yeah. So now Christina's really flipping out.
Yeah.
Because
the pieces are coming together.
Well, but at the same time, they're all coming apart. Her world is being destroyed, yes. And yet all of this new information is filling in these cracks of oh my gosh, murder could be hereditary, and I have a daughter, and my mom's a murderer, and oh my god, no.
Well, I mean, everybody knows murderer skips a generation, so
yeah, it does.
It's in the genes.
It's like the mutant gene.
Well, they are
at Miss Fern School for Gifted Children.
For gifted children, yeah. So Richard leaves, whatever, and Rhoda's trying to sneak something by Christine, and what's behind your back? Nothing.
Yeah.
Turns out it's a pair of very thick-soled shoes that have blood on them. Mm-hmm. And she goes to take them, and Rhoda just freaks out. She's shrieking at her mother. And you get the impression that's probably the first time Rhoda had kind of let her guard down to that point with Christine.
Right.
Just shrieking. And Rhoda admits it. I did it. It was Claude's fault.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give me the medal.
Yeah.
She was taking the shoes to the incinerator to burn them.
Yeah, because when he was trying to climb out, I was smacking his hands.
Yeah.
With my tap shoes.
Yeah, I left these was it half moon crescents is how they described it.
Yeah.
And I
gotta get rid of the evidence.
Yeah. So Christine orders Rhoda to burn the shoe, so Christine's now just fully
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on board. I gotta protect I gotta protect you. Well, because now she's worried about the truth of her upbringing coming out. Now that she knows, if this were to come out about Rhoda and people dig too far, they'd find out that, my mom was this famous murderer that got away with it.
Yeah. And the scene ends with Rhoda upset about the thought of Christine giving the medal back to Miss Fern.
Yeah.
Because that's the priority right now.
Yeah.
So
the whole plot of this movie hinges on who owns that medal.
So the next day, Rhoda's playing outside, and there's Leroy. He's there. He tells her that she's going to get the electric chair. They got a little blue chair for boys and a little pink chair for girls.
The more this movie went on, I really do enjoy his character. He's just so dastardly.
Yeah.
But, he's serious, but at the same time, he's just having fun with a brat. He's teasing this brat, and that's where he's getting his joy.
Yeah.
Not realizing that he's actually poking a pretty dangerous bear.
Yeah. But he's also the only one that gets it. He's the only one that sees right through her because...
Well, he even says...
She is him.
He even says to himself that of I think, you and I have a lot... she and I have a lot in common.
Yeah.
He also hates Claude Daigle.
He also wants that penmanship medal.
Yeah.
Later, Leroy finds a shoe in the incinerator.
Mm-hmm.
Back inside, Rhoda hears the ice cream man and wants a popsicle, and she goes to take some money from the table or whatever, and she takes some matches with her.
Right, yeah.
Because they had also previously found out that Leroy was sleeping on some, accelerant down in the basement.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and then he's been collecting the Excelsior from packaging, and Rhoda knows it. She knows he sleeps down there, and then the tea set that Dad sent to her was packed in Excelsior, and so Mom told Rhoda to get rid of it all. So, Leroy took it and repatted his nest
behind like the radiator or whatever.
Yeah, I know. He's like behind the furnace downstairs or something.
And so that happens, and then Mrs. Daigle shows up again and asks to see the perfect little lady who last saw Claude.
Mm-hmm.
So Rhoda,
she's still plastered.
Oh yeah, she's still drunk, and so Rhoda walks in, and Mrs. Daigle confronts Rhoda and like sits her down on the couch. And at first, I put in my notes, why aren't Christine or Monica stopping this? So
right.
They allow Mrs. Daigle to start like questioning her, and Monica, within a few moments, pulls Rhoda away and takes her upstairs. But like, whoa, that was like,
yeah,
like
that
you're
went
not
on
gonna...
entirely too long. Even starting is entirely too long, especially when Christine knows the truth, and she's like on Rhoda's side of like covering it up. Like, why would you even allow this to occur?
Yeah. Mrs. Daigle yells at Christine. She says that I spoke with a lifeguard and it was Rhoda. Like this person knows that he saw
Calls
Rhoda.
her out. She's in a little dress and pigtails.
Yeah. Mr. Daigle comes by to grab Mrs. Daigle, and Monica comes back with sleeping pills for Christine. And so all of these things are happening like within moments of each other. And then they hear a man calling for help, Oz, as Rhoda just casually walks in at the same time.
Right. And is this where she goes to play piano?
Yeah, this is I think my favorite scene in the movie. And she's just like
hammering the keys, like
and it gets faster and faster.
Yeah,
it's a great scene.
Yeah, really, she's playing louder and louder, like to the point where you're like, "You go, girl!" Like you've been playing this song all day, but man, you're like Chopin in there. You got some chops.
She's getting better. So as Rhoda's playing the piano in the background, you see smoke outside the window, and you see a couple of guys run to this like exterior cellar door, and it's locked. And there's somebody on the inside banging, and it's Leroy. The piano's playing faster and faster, and Christine and Monica are just watching from the window, and you don't see it on camera, but you watch Christine's reaction to like Leroy, whatever, like getting like running out of the cellar and collapsing dead. On the lawn. Yeah.
Like right out the window.
Yeah.
As Rhoda just keeps hammering, tickling the ivories.
So later, Christine's reading to Rhoda, and, Rhoda asks Christine for the medal, and Christine says she dropped it in the water. I put it back in the pond. Like,
I took it back.
We can't keep this here. And Rhoda says that Leroy had her shoes. That's why she did it. So she basically admits to Mom she killed Leroy.
Right, yeah. It's like, I can trust you now, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I killed Leroy because he figured it out.
Yeah.
He had my shoes.
So Christine gives Rhoda several vitamins.
Yeah, here, I got some vitamins for you, kiddo.
Yeah. And as Rhoda's falling asleep, she tells Rhoda she's her daughter, which kind of infers Christine struggles with, like, her own identity now and her own heredity. Right. Then Christine shoots herself.
I know.
Just like that. Like, she walks into another room and you just hear bang. Like, whoa.
Yeah. She just gave her daughter a handful of sleeping pills as vitamins. Yeah. So she's trying to kill her daughter, which not justified, but you could understand her reasoning of, if anybody's going to take her out, it's got to be me because I know the truth. But then, and now, I guess she's lived up to her hereditary. I get her to her genetic sequencing. I'm a murderer now.
This scene caught me about as off guard as what's her name from Legends of the Fall, just like going crazy and just out of nowhere shooting herself.
Right. Yeah, it was just it. Yeah, I agree. It came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. There wasn't anything leading you to believe that it was going to happen, and then
there it
bang.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cuts to 2 days later at the hospital. Kenneth is there. All the other kind of sub players are there.
Yeah.
They do the thing where Kenneth walks up to the doctor and says, "It's been 2 days," which it's like, I hate it when movies do that.
I know. Yeah.
I'm sure the doctor knows it's been 2 days, but the audience doesn't.
Right. And I'm sure the doctor has probably kept you updated over those 2 days.
Yeah.
It's not like you've been sitting shrouded in mystery for 48 hours of your wife being in a coma.
Yeah. So Christine is still alive, and Monica reveals that Rhoda overdosed from sleeping pills, but is also still alive. And
right.
She comes skipping in.
Yep. I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if it weren't for the gunshot that would have alarmed Monica, then Rhoda would have died.
Yeah.
But they got to Rhoda because of the gunshot. So it, pun unintended, it really backfired on Christine.
Yeah.
Her plot to get rid of Rhoda failed because of her own issue, because of her own stormtrooper aim.
Yeah, so Richard, the adopted father, kind of pulls the doctor aside at the end and is like, has she said anything? Has she muttered anything? And the doctor's like, well, she said something about the bad seed.
Yeah.
So we cut to Kenneth back at home tucking in Rhoda. And Kenneth says that Monica told Rhoda she could have her lovebird.
Yeah, I know. Totally setting this up.
Yeah. So Monica is going to give Rhoda her bird, whenever Monica passes away. And just so happens the next day, they're going to go sunbathing on the roof together.
Yeah, I know. It was like, come on. It's just so ham-fisted.
Yeah.
This final little blurb of like, I bet she's going to kill her. But of course, movie ends and we never find out.
Yeah. So we end with Kenneth falls asleep. Rhoda puts on a raincoat, grabs a flashlight, goes out into the storm, walks down the sidewalk to the pier, grabs a fishing net with a long metal pole on it right in the middle of this big electrical storm, and she's trying to fish the metal out, Oz, and instead she gets...
God's had enough.
Yeah, he smites her right there.
It's like she's a Spinal Tap drummer.
Boom. Only she's not replaced by Joe Mama Bessa.
No, she doesn't spontaneously combust. She's blown up, but yeah.
There's no little green globule left.
No, not on her drumstick.
No, so she's dead.
Yeah,
Lightning hits her.
Dead.
She's gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Roll credits.
Only God can relieve the world of Rhoda.
Oh, and that's it. That's the bad seed.
Yeah, right. It is kind of a cute little ending because after they end, then because this was a stage performance first and the entire cast was the stage actors, that they kind of do a curtain call. And they bring
like
them all out.
I wish more movies did that.
It was fun. It was cute. They bring them all out. They introduce them, and then right at the end, after they introduce everybody, Christine, they cut to Christine and Rhoda. She's got her bent over her lap and is spanking her. Should have been doing that from the beginning.
Yeah, a little discipline goes a long way. So that's 1956's The Bad Seed. So at this point in the show, Oz and I give our own unique rating to the movie we've been discussing. Oz, how would you rate The Bad Seed?
Oh, I give this 8 handles of whatever Mrs. Daigle was drinking.
Oh, that's a lot.
Well, she probably had at least that. She was...
Yeah.
Whew.
She was, both appearances. She was quite toasty.
Sheets to the wind.
Yes. My rating of The Bad Seed gets 666 penmanship medals.
I will tell you, I purposely was like, what can I rate this that is going to stay away from something that you might rate this? So I wanted to stay away from penmanship medals. Because
I would go there.
Yeah, I had a feeling. So I'm like, I'm going to go whatever Miss Daigle's drinking.
So, as we start to wrap the show up, Oz and I will get to the 3, 2, 1s, where we each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 from the movie we just watched. Oz, what are your 3 goods for 1956's The Bad Seed?
My first good, I really like the boundary pushing made by the filmmakers. You have a murderous child in a 50s movie. Like, you're talking about an era in film where, like, they don't even show toilets in films yet. Like, Psycho was, like, the first toilet in a movie, like, first flushing toilet in a movie, and that wasn't for, like, another decade, And so to have something like this greenlit, is pretty awesome for a studio film in the 50s. And it was a hit.
Yeah.
It went over very well. And so it's just kind of cool to see, generationally, not a whole lot's changed. People still will pack the seats for a horror film, even though this, by today's standards, is nowhere near scary. It's still a very well-made film, and it was fun to watch. There were some, parts here and there, but nothing really detracted from it. And it was a good movie, and so that's my first good is, pushing those boundaries. Because it's a drama. This definitely plays up like a drama. You're not seeing any, there's no gore. There's actually no violence. It's all off screen, but it's very well done and good for them to push those boundaries. My second good is, Patty McCormack's performance.
Yeah.
Here's a 10-year-old girl that, she's very affluent in her acting ability. And watching her performance, you really dislike Rhoda. Like, you're led down a path. You're like, you see as an audience member how manipulative and conniving she is, and it's just disgusting. And so, kudos to Patty McCormack for bringing that to the performance.
But she does she's like a good professional wrestling heel. Like, she's good at getting the audience to boo you.
Yes. And if honestly, without her performance, the movie would have fallen apart. And then my third good is drunk acting. I love it. I've always enjoyed actors who act drunk and they are bad at it. And Hortense is a terrible drunk actress or drunk character. Some others that pop up, it's like Julia Stiles in 10 Things I Hate About You. Terrible drunk actress. So I just enjoy it when there's actors and actresses in movies that are supposed to be playing a drunk character or a portion of a scene they're supposed to be drunk and they just can't do it. When you just got to go method and just. I know, that's just it. It's like, just let her be drunk.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, I'm like, you would have gotten obviously a realistic performance if you just let her be drunk. Like, just on the verge, not blackout drunk, because you still wanted to be able to deliver.
What do you think, Hortense? What do you think, Hortense?
But just to the point where she could still, stay in character, but give an accurate performance, because this was way over the top and very enjoyable. Those are my three goods. How about you?
My three goods. I really enjoyed the first scene, or a scene earlier in the movie with Christine, Miss Fern, Mrs. Daigle, and Mr. Daigle. Despite some of the overacting from the actress playing Mrs. Daigle, I loved how characters would enter the scenes and leave the scene, and it was, again, the movie is based on a play, and it's really obvious it's based on a play.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of scenes in this movie that drug, and I'm sure those will come up here in a moment when we get to the bads. But there was also a couple of scenes that, despite the length, I thought made the most of every moment there, and that was one of them. So I really enjoyed that initial scene where things are really starting to pick up the pace here. My second was, and I'm going to go a little more specific with Patty McCormack, her eyebrow acting. Patty McCormack's eyebrow acting. When the eyebrows are up, she's sweet, she's mama mima, and when the eyebrows are down, she's the bad seed. So there's just that little nuance in her performance I really, really enjoyed. How she would just kind of turn on a dime.
She's like the people's champion. She's like the people's champ of eyebrow
she
acting.
Is. Yeah, eyebrow acting.
It's Patty the Rock McCormack.
There you go. She gave the rock bottom to Claude Daigle.
That's true.
That's how he stayed down.
You should have seen what she did to Leroy.
She gave the people's elbow.
That's right. She's the most electrifying entertainer, or the most electrifying athlete in sports entertainment.
And she used the electricity to burn up Leroy.
And then God used it to burn her.
Yeah. My last good would be that actually during the Leroy death scene, the piano. Oh, that was great.
Oh, yeah. Tension.
She walks back in just as there's smoke billowing outside and there's a man screaming, what is going on? And she just coolly and calmly walks in and goes to her piano. And as Christine and Monica are freaking out trying to make sense of what's happening, the piano just goes faster and faster and louder and louder. Oh, that tension was so great. Love that scene.
What song do you think, if they were to license any song from now on back, take out that piano, what song do you think they could have licensed to fit in that piano thing? To not even necessarily drop the same message, but to just get the point across.
Oh man, that's I don't know.
I would.
What do you think, Oz?
I would have, if I were in charge, I would have licensed BTO's "Taking Care of Business." I think that. You remake this like in the 80s, then she goes back to her room and puts Bachman Turner Overdrive, Taking Care of Business, into her boombox, and that's playing instead, because that's what she did. She took care of business. He was a threat, and I neutralized that threat.
I think I'm going to go with Two Tribes by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. When two tribes go to war, bodies both, and you can
there you
score.
Go. That'll work too.
Sure. There we go. Little Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Why not?
There you go.
So, Oz, what are your two bads for the bad seed?
My two bads. One, and it is what it is, but this movie definitely demonstrated the difference between being a film actor and being a stage actor. Because they have employed stage actors to be film actors, and it feels different. Even compared to contemporary movies of the time, you're watching other movies of the era. This just, like I told you pre-show, I didn't realize, so I was reading the trivia, that they brought all of the stage actors over to reprise their roles in the film, because it definitely shows and it definitely feels that way. You really, on stage, you really have to emote your drama, because you don't have the reliability of camera angles and musical scores and things to really drive how you want your audience to feel. So you have to add all that to your performance, and that's what they all were doing in their performance. Christine was extremely dramatic. Monica, was chewing up the scenery.
Oh yeah.
Miss Daigle, she was doing the same. And
she was drinking up the scenery.
That's right. Full meal of scenery going on. And so I wouldn't say that any of the performances were necessarily awful or bad, but they were definitely stage dramatic. And so, I'd put it in that category just because it did make the movie feel a little off. Not bad, but just off, because, you eventually got used to it, but early on you were like, these guys act like they're on stage. Well, it's because they were on stage, originally. So that's my first bad. My second is, while I felt all the scenes had a point, so they were long. Boy, some of these scenes were long. This movie clocks in at over 2 hours. Any longer, they would have needed an intermission for their play. And so I just felt like some of these scenes, especially some of the lengthier ones, like early on when Monica's talking about Freud and the books, and then later on when Tasker and Bravo were there, I just feel they could have gotten to the point much quicker than they did. And so I do think everything was in there for a reason. They all served a purpose, but just a little long in the tooth to pad the run time.
I would agree with that completely. And those two scenes in particular,
Yeah. So what about you? What are your two bads?
Mine, it's a little more, it's not so much about the film, it's just some of the things about the film. Just Monica's indulgence of Rhoda. Like, ugh. It's, again, I get what they're doing with the Monica character. Again, I don't think it detracted from the film. It's just that sort of personality type and those sort of actions to me are just nails on a chalkboard.
Great. Yeah, they're grating. Me as well.
Yeah, and just that indulging and it led. I don't know if led, but it enhanced Rhoda's just sense of entitlement. And yeah, it was just every time Monica walked on the screen, it's like, ugh. Like,
here she goes,
Monica. And that's not even getting to the overacting of it, but yeah.
No.
And my other bad, again, this is not so much bad about the film, it's just this is a literal bad thing. I'm pretty sure that Rhoda has antisocial personality disorder, which is, you know, anything in the personality disorder family, yeah, like that's real stuff right there. Like that's not something that someone like, you know, picks up. Like it is kind of hereditary in a sense.
You don't develop that.
You don't grow into that. That's not circumstantial that happens. So, you know, not that there isn't treatment for that, but yeah, there's no remorse, there's no empathy, and those are the two hallmarks of antisocial personality disorder. And if that's what they were going for with the film, I guess, you know, they nailed that. But oof, yeah, that...
you would know more than I do. Like, was that level of knowledge of psychological disorders? I mean, was that knowledgeable and prevalent back in the 50s or even, you know, late 40s or whatever? Or have they not yet like uncovered that? I don't know. That diagnosis level.
Sure. Off the top of my head, I don't remember when the DSMs first started getting published. The treatment of just mental health in general in the 50s was awful. Like they'd be doing, you know, they would go to like electroshock therapy and things like that.
Yeah.
As far as the identification of like antisocial personality disorder, I don't know where in the mental health history books, you know, that was pegged as a thing.
Right.
So I can't directly answer your question.
But even if they pegged it, the way they fixed it was either electrocute you or give you a lobotomy.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So even if they were aware of it, they didn't know how to, you know, like you said, there's no cure, but they definitely were going very, very visceral in their treatment.
Yes, that's well put. So Oz, what's your one from the bad seed?
Again, this one falls in something you might be able to provide a little more insight to than I would, but my is, so murder's genetic now. Like, that sucks. You know, as generation after generation come to fruition, like, I guess if you're going to be a murderer, you could trace it to your lineage.
It's not my fault my family has a history of murderers.
I tried not to murder the guy, but it was destined.
Yeah. My genes told me to.
Well, and it's like, because you could say up until the very end, Christine was not even thinking about, like you said earlier, she was so avoidant. She avoided violence and, you know, very, you know, standoffish about that type of atmosphere. But it's like, once she found out that she was adopted and her mother may have been a killer, all right, I guess I could try and murder my daughter now. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, it's in my DNA. I haven't thought about it until now that I know. But now that I know, here's some vitamins, Rhoda.
Yeah, enjoy. Here's some Flintstones.
And that explains
chewables.
Rhoda.
Yeah,
and that explains Rhoda's behavior. Well, her grandmother was a murderer, so
therefore,
of course she's. And even though Rhoda doesn't know that about her grandmother,
yeah,
that's what we're going to chalk it up to. Is murder is hereditary.
Grandma also had blonde pigtails too,
and wore a dress.
Yeah,
and hated Claude Daigle.
Yeah, yeah. Like most things, it's not an either or. You know, it's all of the above.
Right.
You know, it's a little of this, it's a little of that. Of course, heredity can play a factor. Environment plays a factor. Yeah, it's all of the above. You know, they're just circumstance sometimes. You know, like. Yeah, but to say that, well, Grandma was a murderer, I guess. Sorry, kiddo.
Here's your gun. Let's
just get it over with.
It's like they're the Sawyer family in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
like the Saw's family.
Here's your skin face.
Right. So what's your
My is. I had a couple here. Let's go with something I mentioned at the beginning. Leroy just lets himself in. Like, I think that's becoming like the unofficial theme of this month is characters just letting themselves into other people's homes.
Yep.
I get he's the handyman and it's his job to to maintain the property and maintain the building, but like he just walks in.
And Monica, Monica does ride him for it.
Yeah, she did scold him for it, but like, here I am. He just lets himself in.
She's like, did you even knock first? If you knock and no one answers, then you can come in. Like, what? Still? This creepy old dude? So I'll throw out my own garbage. Thank you.
Yeah, that's my
That's your What was your other
My other was, I also mentioned this earlier when Mrs. Daigle was kind of accosting Rhoda. Like, why didn't Christine or Monica like prevent that from happening in the first place?
Right.
Like, no, you're not. You're completely inebriated. You're not talking with my 8-year-old daughter.
Right. Oh yeah, it was uncomfortable watching that. Just seeing her lash out, because like, I know you're drunk, but you're still an adult. Yeah, and she's still a kid, even if she did murder your son. Like,
yeah. Well, and it's just like the mom didn't stop it from happening.
Right.
Like,
yeah. She just
be mom. Like, protect your kid.
Right. She was still very standoff to say no to violence at that point of the movie, though.
Yeah.
She's just gonna go in the other room, get a drink.
Yeah. So yeah, that was 1956's The Bad Seed.
That's right. Week 2 in the books. You know what we got for next week?
What do we got, Oz?
We have got what could possibly be everybody's go-to when it comes to movie about creepy kids. We're gonna go with Stephen King's Children of the Corn.
Yes.
1980 something. Peter Horton.
Sprint everywhere.
Yes. Peter Horton. I just watched Terminator last night.
Linda Hamilton. There we go.
Linda Hamilton. Lisa was in my head, and I'm like, it's not Lisa something. Linda Hamilton. Their vehicle. I have seen this more times than I can count. And I remember seeing it very young. Like, I remember seeing it when I was an impressionable youth. I'm sure it was on HBO or something, and I remember being pretty freaked out.
Well, especially growing up in a rural town like that too.
Yep. And so we're gonna take a stab at Children of the Corn, the first one, not one of the 18 sequels that have come. Not Children of the Corn 666 or Urban Harvest or whatever. Like they've got Harvest. These. I believe there is an Urban Harvest. Let me check real quick.
Children of the Corn Harvest Fest.
Right. Urban Harvest.
Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn 3. Children of the Corn 3. Urban Harvest. It's got a 4.2.
I think that's the name of my local farmer's market.
Yeah, Urban Harvest.
Urban Harvest.
2 brothers connected to the murderous children's cult of Gatlin, Nebraska are taken to Chicago by an adoptive couple.
Hilarity ensues.
He's right. No one of note is in the... Yep, no one. I'm looking at the cast and no one.
Not like it. Go ahead.
When the first actor's name on IMDb pops up, the first actor in the cast, like the lead, and his image is the like no photo available.
Like just a little gray silhouette.
Yeah, it was the gray silhouette with the white background. You know you're in for a classic film. So no, we will be watching the first one, Children of the Corn, the original. I didn't even look. It's 1980 something. So
84.
Yeah, Peter Horton,
something like that.
I think that sounds right. Yeah, Peter Horton, Linda Hamilton. It's a guilty pleasure movie of mine. It is not good. If you've seen it and you're watching or listening to the show and you've seen it, we're talking about Children of the Corn next week. It's not a good movie, but it's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun. I feel bad for every redheaded kid I knew growing up because in my head I'm like, oh, you're Malachi. Oh, look at you. You're Malachi. And no, that's not true. You're not Malachi, Curtis.
Oh,
you're Curtis.
Well, I'm only half. I'm only half Malachi.
Right. You're Malacurtis.
That works.
Malacurtis. So, that's what we're catching next week on week 3 of creepy kids in movies. Children of the Corn. And I don't think it's going to be Hereditary. I don't think the murder in this upcoming film is going to be Hereditary.
Probably not.
I could probably write the plot and my 3, 2, 1s without even watching the movie again. I've seen it that many times. So, you got anything to throw us out with?
No, it's fun talking about the bad seed. Looking forward to Children of the Corn.
Yep. You know where to catch us, hopefully on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Join Patreon, catch us on YouTube, your favorite podcast app, etc., etc. Do all the things that we ask you to do every week, and like, subscribe, review, comment, whatever. We appreciate it. But bottom line, we just enjoy talking about movies each week, and we hope you enjoy listening to us talk about movies each week. I like our format. I like how we talk to each other, but we're also talking to the listener. Mm-hmm. I listen to a lot of podcasts where they're just talking to each other, and I always feel a little weird, like I'm eavesdropping on somebody else's conversation.
No, we invite the listener in to join us.
Please join us. So, but yeah, that's what we got coming up. And like I've been texting you all week, my brain has been rolling out future month themes, and so
yes, you have.
A lot of times, like I'll come across a movie or something that I've seen, and I'll think like, how could I fit that in? Like I know my wife is a huge fan of Urban Cowboy with John Travolta.
Urban Harvest.
I got Children of the Corn 3 on the brain. And so I'm like, I should try to figure out a way that we could get Urban Cowboy in. And I'm like, Urban Cowboy, that's an oxymoron. Let's do a month of oxymoronic titles. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, that just sounds like fun.
We are on the way to 20,000 episodes.
20,000. We're at 24. It doesn't really feel that long ago when we just finished episode 20. Like, it was a month ago, mm-hmm. and I made the first, like, on our way to 20,000, and like now we're another month in. So
and another movie closer to 20,000.
Yeah, 2 weeks, and we're halfway through a year.
I know.
So I think this is real.
It is. We are established.
We should probably start talking about merch.
Yeah.
Magnets and buttons and t-shirts and hats, mm-hmm. and totes.
Yeah.
And koozies and
radio
beach towels.
We do radio spots.
Pens.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants a pen?
Let's talk about Flicks the pen.
Right?
It's all modeled after Spaceballs merch.
Exactly.
They're fake merch.
We'll take a Transformers coloring book and just retitle it. Let's talk about Flicks the coloring book.
Let's talk about Flicks the flamethrower.
All right. So for another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we will see you next week when we talk about Children of the Corn. Stay tuned.